to a review of our entire budget, and also Zach is here from the school board to review their budget with us briefly. I thought since he is here, perhaps we could start with Zach's summary. And I think the intention of this is that really this is designed to be a high level summary, not a kind of line by line review. That the line by line review presentation that you have is next Monday, is that correct? On the
Correct.
30th?
30th.
But hopefully today, just understanding what the big picture increase is so that we can, as we finalize our budget, understand what the cumulative impact is on taxpayers.
All right, got it ready to kind of summarize that. I'll basically read me as long as pass these around. So if we can get to that side.
It's just not classroom.
That's.
Oh, this direction, I don't think you need
Put down,
three.
pass it around, put your name at the top, right?
Yeah. Then you want one on the
Person.
on the pile over there? You want the other one?
Oh, yeah. If someone comes in.
All right, so I'll just go ahead and read this and then, you want to get through it and ask some questions if you want. So this is the FY 27 budget updates to the select board. It says, chair members of the select board. Islesboro Central School continues to provide a welcoming academic environment for our students, and we've seen tremendous support from the town. This year, we have seen an increase in our main Department of Education third grade reading scores. Our basketball team won a game at the state tournament. We had a student represent District 3 at the main high school honors chorus, and we've had an individual golfer place in the top 25 for the state. And our seniors, arguably the best and most recent example of ICS's successes, have started receiving acceptances to colleges, including Northeastern, Bryant, Johnson & Wales, Babson, Colby, Bates, Syracuse, University of Maine, the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, Maine Maritime Academy, UMass Lowell, University of New England, and Husson, just to name a few. As part of our effort to continue our ongoing open communication with the town, we have held multiple open school board meetings discussing the budget. We will be holding a public hearing on March 30th, beginning at 5:30 in the Kinnick Center, and the draft 2026-2027, also known as the FY 27 Islesboro School Department budget. This evening, we'll begin with the presentation of the budget, followed by an opportunity for those present to give input and ask questions. The school board has worked diligently with the administration to ensure that the proper balance is struck between providing the educational opportunities our students deserve, while being good stewards of taxpayer dollars. As proposed, the 2026-2027 total school budget is $3.1 million, which represents a 2.72% increase year over year. The total of school tax liability is $2,870,969, which is a 3.72% increase year over year. We'll talk about that here in a second. It's a revenue issue, which is why you see the tax up a percent higher than the actual budget itself. Following are some highlights from the FY 27 budget that explain the school board's rationale. Staffing. The Islesboro Teachers Association and the Islesboro School Committee recently reached a tentative agreement regarding a successor agreement with the current collective bargaining agreement. Those costs, including salaries, benefits, and any other financial items related to the agreement, have already been incorporated into our budget. The budget includes an additional elementary special education teacher. The needs of our special ed students are diverse and have increased to the point that warrants additional time and services. The guidance program is being restructured and will be comprised of a full-time secondary guidance counselor and a 40% time elementary guidance counselor. The technology position is being restructured to a full-time middle school teaching position, and we are returning to the way we used to do it, an hourly/stipended position for technology support. The horticulture position is being maintained at half an FTE. To date, Region 8 has not been willing to reinstitute the other half of this position.
Region 8, sorry, is.
Mid-coast.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, the mid-coast.
Okay.
So yeah, it's the one that's in Rockland, a really nice building.
Right, I just want to make sure.
Changes in revenue. So another significant issue the proposed budget addresses will be revenue shortfalls in state aid education. The state portion where they provide us funding is down $22,000. We're taking a conservative approach to the magnet tuition. While we have recently seen new magnet students commit to the school for FY 27. No problem. We have elected to not project additional commitments in advance. There's also a shortfall in the school nutrition program related to food purchases. At the end of the 2025 school year, the cost of food purchases.
Lori calling back.
Sorry, I'm in the middle of the meeting. Can I call you back? Excuse me. Go ahead.
No. So at the end was, at this time, the amount budgeted for food in 2026-2027 school nutrition program has been increased 10,000 to 31,000. This amount may be inadequate to fund the program. We're still continuing to work through that process.
Can we ask questions as you go, or do you want to just go through the whole thing?
Let me just get through the whole thing and then it'll be a chance.
There you go.
We continue to monitor the use of the fund balance to ensure we continue to comply with the Maine state statutes. The board is proposing a use of 140,000 in fund balance to offset the other revenue reductions while continuing to manage our risk exposure. While the remaining fund balance and contingency reserve represent less than 10% of the budget target, we are cautiously comfortable that the risk in the short term is acceptable. In the reserve accounts, the contingency reserve account, we are continuing our long-term approach to fiscal stewardship and risk mitigation through a contingency reserve account, which will be funded to 5% of the budget. This year's contribution is $20,000. Capital improvement, the ICS building and the town treasurer, it's our responsibility to care for it. To that end, we maintain a capital improvement reserve to cover emergent issues as well as plan for future upkeep and improvements. We have elected to delay for a year the replacement of the second level floor in order to save money in FY 27. This year's contribution is $10,000, which will bring the account balance to approximately $50,000. Then bus reserve, this year's contribution is $25,000. Look forward to hearing your comments at our March 30th public meeting, answering questions, and appreciate your support as Islesboro maintains its longstanding commitment to educational excellence. And then the last page you guys all have is the year-over-year budget comparison, summary. Now, questions?
I just, no, just, two questions. So, how do you, have a shortfall on the food budget? On the nutrition program, that's 2/3 of the budget. Am I reading that right? The budget was 62 and there was a shortfall of 49.
No, I don't think you're right.
Am I reading that?
No, so the food service program is and has been an interesting beast. So what you're looking at is the total shortfall, which actually you guys have on your books. So there's a couple of different moving pieces, right? So we have our budget.
Yep.
We spend what it takes to be able to feed the students. We get reimbursed from the state.
Yeah.
And then what's supposed to happen is the school is supposed to, out of our fund balance, zero that budget out every year. That's what's supposed to happen.
Okay.
So a couple of years ago, we discovered that we were not doing that. And so it was running, we were just running a deficit and nobody really knew about it, if you will. It was just kind of sitting on the books, back in the appendices of the audit. And so we've been working our way out of that hole.
I got it.
So we've engaged with the state so that they understand where we are and how we got to this point. It doesn't make a lot of sense for us to just go in and try and zero everything out today. Because that would effectively put additional financial strain on the taxpayers. So we're kind of easing our way into it. We're fixing it going forward and we're working our way out of the problem in arrears.
And how many years is that projected to be that you're?
I would hesitate to say exactly because what I want is to be able to tell you a firm answer is I want the audits. So the audits, like every school in the state, is a couple of years in arrears. And so we want to make sure that we have a really firm understanding of what we've got for fund balance before we start cutting checks.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
The other piece that's notable is that we have changed our breakfast program to align ourselves with the federal and state regulations, so we can actually get reimbursed from the feds effectively. And so we have just gotten through, I think our first invoice has been accepted. Don't ask me what it is because it's gone back and forth and it's been a challenge. but moving forward, we're looking for other sources of revenue to improve that program.
Great.
So I understood that there are 5 positions that are, need to be replaced in the faculty. Is that correct?
That is correct. So we're at kind of a seminal moment, right, for the school. In terms, we haven't seen a moment like this since probably the late 80s, early 90s. And so we have an opportunity right now to bring in new staff. So I think 4 teachers, and then Kate, the principal, is going back to teaching, and so we'll be hiring a new principal.
So is that, any of those changes have a budget impact? I mean, I would expect that anybody coming in, especially somebody who doesn't have anywhere to live on Islesboro, would ask for more money, you know?
So the teachers are under a collective bargaining agreement, so they don't negotiate individually for things like you're talking about. And so could there be a budget impact? Yes, there could be a budget impact, but it's not the way you're talking about it in terms of that negotiation.
Pardon
But-
my ignorance.
No, not a problem. The budget impact would be based on years of seniority. Because if they come in, if we were to hire somebody who had more seniority than the person who was leaving, you could see a budget impact there. Or if they have, if their health insurance is the other piece, that is a variable in there. The teacher that left was an individual and the person who came in was a family, you could see a budget impact there. The way we do the budget is we maintain the existing staff assumptions, right? So the person who left, that's who we maintain. The hope or the goal as we go through this is that, generally speaking, the people who retire have more experience, and the people that you hire tend to have a little bit less experience, and so it kind of balances
So
itself
it
out.
could be a saving.
It could be a savings, or it could be a cost, depending upon how those two things work
Right.
themselves out.
I
That's how we
understand.
handle that.
Thank you.
Yep.
And in the question of how the food service is actually funded, is that? How do you decide how much to spend on food?
How do we decide how much to spend on food,
Yes,
or how much to be putting in the budget?
well,
Because those are two different questions. And
Okay.
so the person, the chef at the school is the one who effectively decides what they need to buy to be able to make the meals.
Yeah.
So that's that side. What is going into the budget is we've been pulling data from the last several years to try and get a better sense as to where the actual food spend is. If you go back 3 years, the budget for food in the actual budget, that line item was 0. And so today you see us creeping it up to try and get to where we think it should be to balance it out. So last year we put in 21,000. We're overshooting that some this year. So you'll see that this year's line item for that was 31,000. So it has been an evolving process as we try and dial that in.
Can I ask a question about this?
Yeah.
So looking at, if you had 2025 cost of food was 62,748 and budgeted was 21, which left a shortfall of 41,750. And then going into this year, you're budgeting 31,000. Is it realistic to expect the chef to be able to cut that cost down in half without you having to then add more?
So I don't think you're looking at you're looking at that number as, and it's probably the way I wrote it here. But I believe the 62 is what the shortfall has been cumulatively. That's not the 1 year shortfall. I understand.
Your cost of food purchases was 62.
I understand, but like I said, I apologize for if the way I wrote it here, it's not coming across the way it should.
So
And if you have specific questions like that, I encourage you to show up on the 30th, because I'm not prepared to go in line by line to talk about those.
I wasn't gonna ask line by line. I was gonna ask for a bit of just a little better understanding as to if you overspent by 40,000, why would you only budget 31?
Like I said, I don't think that the way I wrote that number is not coming across the way I intended for it to come across.
That's the same question I had just asked.
Yeah, that's the question he asked.
What I understand was that they hadn't been allocating the funds properly.
They haven't, well,
Okay,
all right. I will wait until the 30th.
but it's good that this discussion, because clearly the explanation isn't resonating with us, and so
No, it's fine.
it'll help you prepare how to approach that number more effectively.
It'll be good for Sky, because I'll be gone.
Oh,
Sky's gonna take one for the team. No, and the food service budget has been an absolute train wreck for, for a decade, right? I mean, literally until the last 2 years, the budget for food at the school was zero. And so, so it was just sitting and being accumulated. So this is a complicated and long-term process for us to go in and figure out how to solve this.
Yeah.
Right. So this is not something that it's like Rome, it wasn't built in a day and it's not gonna get fixed in a day.
but I would suggest then Sky needs to be aware of our concerns or just the comments so that he's well equipped to answer it.
Yep.
It's been an ongoing issue that we haven't budgeted enough money for the program, and then just to see that there's already a question about whether or not it's gonna be enough, it seems kind of crazy to me,
Problematic.
yeah, but I'll wait until the 30th.
Alright, Zach, the second level floor, what's kind of the life remaining in that second level floor? I know you're looking to replace it now, you're holding off.
If you were my maintenance lead, you'd say I would have liked to have replaced that a couple of years ago.
Sure.
If you're me and I know, I walk on floors, I don't know much about floors, so I would say we're comfortable that we're gonna get another year or so out of it. But put it this way, the first floor and the second floor were both installed at the exact same time. We replaced the first floor last year.
Okay.
It was at that level.
Is the additional 10,000 to bring the balance to 50, that money is capital reserve to replace the floor specifically?
Not specifically for the floor, that the original ask in that line was closer to $60,000. 50 for the floor itself, and then another 10 we hold that capital reserve fund in case something catastrophic happens. And so no, does not include the floor.
Okay, so now how much is the floor gonna
It's
cost?
about $50,000.
It was about 50, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it happens to be about 50. That was not what we're targeting. That number used to be a lot bigger. We've done a lot of work on the school in the past few years. Specifically, the roof on the school was the big one. That was several $100,000.
Yeah, okay, no, perfect, that's excellent that you guys are utilizing capital reserves appropriately.
No,
Thank
no,
you.
and I kind of glossed over it when I talked about the contingency and the fund balance, the goal that we set for ourselves a couple of years ago is our goal is to end up where we have a fund balance that is 5%, an unassigned fund balance is 5%, and contingency reserve fund that's another 5%. So that basically gives us a 10% buffer. That's the long-term goal that we're working ourselves towards. We're not there yet, but that's the kind of the fiscal plan for risk mitigation. Because it used to be, if you go back a few years, it used to be that the school budget was kind of on the inflated side. Because that was how the risk was managed, was over budget, and then if we have savings, that's great. Our current approach long-term is, no, let's get the budget much tighter. Let's be more realistic about what we're actually spending. But I don't want to have to go back to the town to ask for more money if something were to happen. So that's why we need that 10% buffer. So that's where we're trying.
Makes perfect sense, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Well, right now we are nowhere close to 2 or 3%, so we have our homework to do to be, hopefully come in with a much lower percentage increase than what we currently have, more in line with what you all are proposing, so thank you for coming in.
Not a problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.
That's great.
I'd love to know where Michael Nelson is also here to present for housing. Addressing the new committee and the budget that Peter presented that letter a couple of weeks ago, asking for the 15,000. We do have that represented in this budget, whether or not the voters approve it is another thing, but I didn't know if Mike wanted to take a couple minutes and talk a little bit more about this housing initiative.
Think I'm off mute. I I think, you know, what I saw that Peter was going to present really states what we wanted to do. We haven't had any money to obviously do uh, some planning relative to this overwhelming housing need that we have. And, you know, a couple of things are really to educate the community on what the situation is right now. We really do need to investigate more of what it takes to get workforce folks to be more interested in not just coming here to work, but coming here to live. And I don't think we understand all of the ramifications of that. So part of this would be to study what that takes. And then, as I think everybody knows, the cost barrier to build anything on the island is very significant. And so I think we've got to study ways that it can be done more efficiently, more economically, so that the cost of putting up a new home is nowhere near what we've experienced. I do know, you know, IAP is looking at that and they're making some inroads, but it takes a lot of work to get that done, and I don't think everybody understands specifically what that takes. The other part of it is the financing options that we have for potential home builders, homeowners. And what does it take and what's out there? How can people benefit from the best financial backing, or raising funds in order to build a house? So it really is to get more planning work done to help us understand how we get from where we are today to where we need to go. I would tell you from my perspective, 15,000 is merely a drop in the bucket, but at least it's a start.
Which, by the way, was the whole idea, was a start.
Any questions for Michael? Great. Thank you. I appreciate you coming online for the meeting.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you listening.
And that number is represented in section 44 health, 44.9. If you wanted to take a look at that in your budget spreadsheet, was represented there. Will be at the end.
Great.
I don't think it's a big part of the 60 or
I don't think you have crazy 49.
Yeah, it's probably something new that came up.
Oh, okay.
Not on the
Everybody else
conversion.
has it in their
Yeah.
packets. Yeah. And it was there the last time.
So I guess, I mean, before we go line by line, I feel like it would be helpful to just have a big picture discussion about, you know, if there is a target that we'd like to shoot for, or, you know, what feels realistic. I don't know, Ryan or Janet, if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, you know, going through line by line, we might be able to shave $500, 1,000 off of a few points. Really, the big ticket items that are really ballooning this budget are all big ticket items. It's capital reserves for road reconstruction. It's paving money. There's 200,000 there. It's you know, the excavator for public works. That's 70,000. What else did I write down here?
Ferry tickets.
The ferry ticket committee is 54,000. I mean, you know, and none of that may necessarily make it past the town vote. I mean, they may vote that down and say, you know, we don't want the ferry ticket committee because we just don't want to pay for it. But I mean, that's really where and the health center's budget. I mean, that's really where these increases are coming from. I don't know. I mean, we could say we don't want to pave and get rid of 200K, but then we're still riding on the
We
same
did that
roads.
last year.
Well, exactly.
We
And,
can't do it every
and
year.
we're still riding on the same roads. And I mean, cold patching only does so much until the plow comes along and then tears up all that cold patch. So, you know, I mean, we could say, you know, we don't want the excavator, we don't want the third public works person. Okay, we've saved $100,000 maybe. There's not a ton that can be cut while still providing the same level of service and doing some saving for future projects while continuing to address the ongoing projects that we have. There's really not, there's really not a lot of fat in this budget. I would love it if there was.
So,
So the big ticket items, like I said, 44 is the health,
yeah,
it's the health center and, the ferry ticket committee. That's where the majority of it is right there.
And the paving.
And the paving, which I've given you a little
The paving's not in
sheet that I
44.
kind of broke some things down, but I'm thinking perhaps up to 50,000 for that ferry paving portion.
Right,
Um,
I got, some confirmation from Bill today on that 50 to 75 is what his ballpark was. That was before we sharpened our pencil.
Well, I mean, there's 200,000 here under public works for striping the roads. You know, that's money that we didn't ask for
What?
last year.
Not just striping, no.
20.
200.
What page are you on?
I'm sorry, that's for paving, not
Sorry,
striping.
thank you.
yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm sorry, that's for paving, not
What,
striping.
what is the number for paving?
200,000, 3714 under 45.
Just.
Okay.
Shane. Since we know the health center is a big part of this increase,
It is.
do we know anything about the actual, like the realistic financial impact of their new hire, of their new, like getting rid of 2 part-time people to replace with a full-time person? Do we know anything about? Because I'm just wondering if that's based on what they were saying last time. I'm not a medical professional, so I try to keep my mouth shut about this sort of stuff, but it seems like they're staffing themselves for almost like a 1-to-1 employee to patient basis out here, which feels a little bit overkill. And I wonder though, what happens if we remove the money for that position, for those positions?
Where does that, I mean, I remember the
I'm not-
emails the other week on this,
Yeah,
but I
well,
don't.
that's what I'm curious about is I don't know where, I'm not really sure where they.
Well,
put it in.
you only vote on the subsidy, so they'd have to go back. to the
That's under 44 health, 44,
Yeah.
35, 15. So
That's just the subsidy, so
44,
I'd be curious to know what part of that subsidy would be going to two new full-time employees.
Just the whole thing, but I'm gonna look at that. And then I asked for the breakdown of the salaries last time. I think the new nurse was around 80.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't know what the new MA position is, but
I
that's
think
without any of the,
around 50.
yeah, without any of the benefits or anything like that. And so would it be appropriate to say, because there's a lot of positions, like Public Works needs a new person. The preschool still needs their insurance subsidies, stuff like that, instead of saying, ask them to pick one. Either you can have your MA or you can have your nurse, but you can't have both this year, you know, and say, hey, we're gonna cut it by $100,000. You figure out where you wanna cut it out of.
Yeah, I mean, last year, the health center was definitely one that I had flagged. And last year, I think, Beth in particular was very helpful in coming up with suggested cuts to do what she could to
Yeah, she got
minimize
back
the
in the
impact.
reasonable.
And you know, the subsidy actually went down last year from what it had been the previous years. And so I imagine sort of some correction, but it seems like we're jumping up. So I would support kind of going back to them to say, you know, I think Chris's response to what do you really need was this is what we're asking for, what we really want, which is great, but it would be nice to figure out if there is a way that we could stage it and have not as much of a big hit this year.
I just texted Chris to see if he could come over.
I do believe it was also want with the idea of providing the best care possible. And the individuals that they're looking to hire would be, not just per diem employees, but would actually be medical professionals, and may have additional capabilities for testing. I mean, I don't know.
Right, no,
Yeah, no, there's no question that it would provide, that,
Superior service.
yeah,
Especially during the summer, which is when, they got crushed last year when when the health center was brand new. They're expecting it to be worse and,
yeah.
Would
No.
that be something to think about, maybe a seasonal position then, in order to help with the, doubling of people?
well, let me stop you right there because nobody's beating down the door to work at the health center.
Mhm.
I mean, that's just a fact of life. The people that have been brought on new have been brought on from off island. So far, I mean, there's not a line of people waiting to work at our health center. So the idea of a seasonal employee sounds good, but,
Right?
there's nobody looking to do that really.
So I think the big thing
At
is
least not that
look
we
at
found.
those numbers.
Yeah.
One of the things is retention. First thing we have to do is make sure that we're staffing properly so we don't lose more people.
I think the only people that they've lost are the ones that they've restructured out,
Well,
aren't they?
well,
Beth is leaving.
Beth is leaving and it's
Fair enough.
because of the off hour. What I'm concerned about is we bring on people who aren't on the island and the off hour. The point is, once we get past that, if we're staffed properly for that off hour and we're making people's lives who are involved in that group manageable, this is not the year to have all this other stuff. In my opinion. I mean, like, we didn't do roads last year, we cut that out. This is a couple $100,000. They're gonna have to figure out a way to do it differently.
One of the things that during community lunch today, and it was something that resonated hard, was the Islesboro Health Center wants to provide the best community care possible. And I know that we all agree fully with that, but sometimes the community care part isn't just what happens within the doors. It's also making sure that we're caring for our year-round people, the taxes, the affordability and stuff like that, and making sure that we're keeping everything within a manageable increase.
Right.
Somebody pointed out to me today that if we continue at our current overall, not just the health and budget, but the overall, in 5 years, the town itself will be looking at a $12 million budget. That seems crazy to me, but that's what if we continue at the 16% and the different things that we have.
Yeah, so Chris, just to bring you up to speed, what we were talking, this is today, is the first time that we're kind of looking at the budget wholesale. What we have right now is a 16% overall budget, which feels kind of across the board untenable from a taxpayer perspective. And so we're just looking at areas where they had some of the largest increases to try to understand how between kind of this week and next week, we could look at potential changes to try to bring that down into something that feels realistic. Because the health center represents around $200,000 of that increase. Obviously, the health center is going to be a topic of conversation. And so, I don't know, well, I don't have any necessarily specific questions. I don't know if others do, but it's just kind of my, I guess, comment to you tonight is just recognition of that 200,000. I know last week you had said, this is really the budget that gives us what we need, which is great to aspire to. And I would ask kind of it in the flip, which is like, are there ways that we could stage investments so that it's not all made in this year? And I don't expect an answer, like, you're welcome to respond, but I also don't expect you to say like, oh yes, I'm gonna get out my red pen right now in front of us. Like, I would hope that it would be something that we could have a conversation about between now and next week.
Sure, absolutely.
Tell them the part about that. Cause when
I'm sorry.
We started it with, we went back to Beth Omara last year and she was able to bring it in.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was like, what do you mean so, and this, yes, this was very similar to basically the way that I worked with Beth last year. And then we got the health center budget. There was a large increase. She and I met a couple of times with Janet and just sort of tried to bring in like, okay, what are some revisions that we can make to hopefully reduce this and understand how it could be staged into the future. So. Great.
So just, and I made a comment where I just wanted to be on, so you hear this. I want to make sure that the people that are currently involved, have a quality of life so that like evenings and on call is manageable. I think that's, if you look at these numbers, we need to make sure that is covered so we don't have a problem with anyone leaving on that. Once we get past that, this is probably not the year that I would accept, that large of anywhere near this number, just because it's not the year. I'm looking at over 200,000 increase. And, we just need, that number in my mind needs to be at least half of that. So sometimes you need a stake to say, well, what are we looking at? I'm not speaking for the group, but myself. We have to cut that number way back. So think in terms of that, and I'm not as correct as you were saying, but that's just my concern.
Okay, I think that gives me a benchmark to be able to work toward as
Right.
well.
So I think there are two suggestions. One is that is there any way to phase the expansion over several years? I for one believe that one of the great benefits of living on this island is superior health care, and I'd hate to see it fundamentally compromised for want of $100,000. But by the same token, we're facing a large budget. And we need to work with you to figure out how to make that manageable and marketable.
Right. And votable.
Yeah.
And I was gonna email you about this, and this has nothing to do with the budget. Are you aware that the postings that you put out are the previous positions that you restructured out, not the new ones that you guys voted on?
No,
For the MA?
Yeah, at the post office and all around town where they are, it is quite literally the positions that have been removed, not the new ones. None of the new criteria or anything are listed on those ones. I was looking at it today when I was checking my mail and it was like, oh, I thought that was different. There's nothing about the triage. There's nothing about any of the other ones. And so the notice of position that you put out isn't the correct one. I don't know who puts it out, but just that way you guys know, that way you can fix it.
I'm wondering, I know Peggy had mentioned seeing one over at the post office, but it looked like maybe page 2 of the position description was missing and we just had pages 1 and 3. So I'm wondering if it had maybe at some point printed double-sided and then got scanned and only one side went through, because page 2 is the page that has all of the new clinical details.
I'll look at the one on the bulletin board out here. It's the same as what.
Great, it's just worth looking into.
Thanks, Melissa.
Great. Are you comfortable if, maybe you and I and Janet just find a time to meet over the coming between now and then? Does that?
That would be
feel comfortable with the
great.
group? Okay,
Yeah, that works great for me.
perfect. Excellent. Thank you.
Definitely.
In the meantime, we all need to stay healthy.
Yeah. That's probably a good point.
All right, so you guys will.
Wait,
you
while
guys
you're
will-
here, so there was this thought about, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
The surge in the summer is impactful, it sounded like, but, it's hard to get summer help, for anything, it's particularly in your profession, but it might be something to think about. I think it's a good idea, whoever mentioned it, that, you know, surges is what typically fills service providers. And so if there's a way to look at decreasing by pulling from some other area, I don't know, just, that was a good idea. I just found it.
Will you have students again this summer?
We will have students again this summer,
One at a time.
one at a
They
time.
were on the
Yeah.
unemployed TSA agents.
Yes, they carry guns in there.
Can. I'm talking to myself. Okay, fine.
Can we transition to other areas of the budget?
Yeah, thank you for stopping
Yes.
by.
Of course.
Yep, all right, so the next, going out of the health center, the other one was just the Peak Ferry tickets, that's in section 44 as well, it's 54,000. Like I said, again, I don't know if that one's gonna pass town meeting or not, but that one's also in there, increasing the budget, in 44. That is. Forty-four, 2, 35, 16.
And that will have a separate warrant article.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of comfortable approaching that one of two ways. One is to say, you know, can we do some more community conversations over the coming year to have people understand the concept of the proposal before putting it into the budget. Or I'm comfortable with having it as a separate, right, and I'm comfortable with having it as a separate warrant article, but I would want any kind of target that we set for ourselves for a budget to be like, that would be exceeded, so it would basically be like a recognition that it was outside of, it was in addition to kind of the core budget that the select board is recommending.
It will be a separate article, yeah.
And I talked with John, I emailed him, and I mentioned about the public info meeting on that, and he said something like, I think he said he's back April 20th, I mean,
Right.
that's too late. I think, if we're trying to do something this year, so maybe your idea about just, talking about it more.
Since it's separate and we're not really supporting it, it's just putting it forth as an idea, right? I mean, is that how that,
We would need money attached to it if it passes.
well, right, but, well,
That's why it's in there, because if it does pass, it's gonna need funding.
okay, well, we're not,
And at the end of the warrants, they always say the select board recommends a
right,
affirmative.
okay, that,
You don't have to
So-
say that for that article, you don't have to say that.
Okay. I think if I could just sort of speak more bluntly than maybe I should. I don't think we need to have any more information session with the public about this. I think that I think it's pretty clear that if this passes, it's gonna cause a tax increase and we're gonna have to pay for this that way. I think the more information sessions we have, I personally worry that that's gonna garner so much support that we can't say no to this. And personally, I think it's a bad precedent to set for us as a town to get involved in subsidizing ferry tickets. I would not want to attach my name or the select board's name to that warrant. If we want to put it to a warrant, have it voted on separately. I don't know that there's anything I can do to say that that's not, we shouldn't do that, but I don't think we need to drag the process along anymore. I think we need to make a decision whether we want to support this or not. But just myself and personally.
That's fine. I mean, yeah, it was the proposal was brought up, the committee was formed, the investigation was done, the proposal was put forth. You know, now it's up for a vote. If it passes, I mean, it needs funding based on, I don't know, what was estimated.
But if the board puts it forward, I mean, the board could squelch it right here.
That would be the board's prerogative.
If it goes, it's gonna pass,
Right.
like Pete says. I mean,
And
you're gonna-
it's only gonna get more and more expensive as time goes on.
Right, but I guess my concern is if we have a program, if what people have brought to us is a program that the first survey indicated support for, granted, there was no budget information with it, right? So I feel like going back to the public to say, here is the information, here is the next round of information. To me, I don't care if that happens in this year's budget or in future budget, but I think if we have a sense that it's going to be overwhelmingly supported, like, why are we gonna squat, like, if it would be overwhelmingly supported because people feel like it will help them with the affordability, that to me feels like that's something that I don't see the select board's role in squashing it. But I think right now there's not enough information for people to make an informed decision about that.
Well,
Well, I think both points are very valid. I mean, if we're supposed to represent the community.
right, I mean, it's hard for me to suggest going against something that seems so overwhelmingly supported. But like Janet says, well, like, of course it's supported. Anything to make ferry tickets cheaper is gonna be supported by anybody without really thinking.
Right.
And I believe there has been a lack of thought about it because the few people that asked for details and then found out that they would be subsidizing their own cheaper ferry tickets with the property tax increase, they all went, oh, well, now I'm not sure if I like
Well,
that as much.
exactly, and that's the problem with the way it was presented, which was the budgetary impact was completely obscure. And, you know, I think it's the other problem with the whole idea is subsidy across the board. It's not just addressing the problems of people who truly are victimized by, who can't afford ferry tickets. It's everybody.
I don't know, I mean, it's gonna be one of the first things on the chopping block for me if that opportunity arises.
Understood.
But I'm unclear if you wanted of exactly given the overwhelming support, what's the mechanism
The
for killing it?
mechanism for killing it for me is that the overwhelming support came from information that was not.
I know that,
was not fully
what I'm
given.
saying.
And
I get there.
I don't understand how we can consider a state subsidizing something to make someone's life cheaper by also raising their taxes. And I think it's only gonna get more and more expensive, and I think that's the part of the people maybe aren't gonna see, even with a breakdown of where the money's gonna come from. They might not see that it's gonna inevitably get bigger and bigger and one of the bloating government program.
I have a possible suggestion. I don't know if it's,
We need a possible suggestion.
what about if we put a pin in it for this year in order to further, explore the probability of using your parking to fund it? Then it is not something that is paid for from us. It is a set amount of money that has been received. It doesn't affect everybody's property taxes. And then it is something that you pay for at the ferry that now benefits the ferry. I don't know if that's
The only,
because then when you look
the
at,
wonderful suggestion, the only problem is, I think, that the numbers don't quite work.
it would be a
Our
drastically,
projected-
it would be a drastically reduced amount that would be
Yes.
available. And that part would need
Okay.
to be adjusted with it. And I know that you're not gonna make $50,000 off of the, or we, not you,
I
sorry,
wanted
that's,
to.
that
Shame, cut
phrasing
me
did not
down.
but if you're gonna, okay, shooting for the moon,
Yeah.
and let's say that you get 10,000, okay, for all intents and purposes, you, named it Peter Rothschild is now the town.
I don't
If the
know, I don't
park-
like the direction we're going.
If the parking pulls in $6,000, right? Which is a high number in my estimate, then we can reallocate the $6,000 into the potential of offsetting ferry costs.
Okay,
And you have a year to also look at how you want to distribute.
conceptually, I think it's a great idea. The mechanics may be
Complicated.
complicated.
Yes, I will concede to that one every day of the week. It's just a different idea that then it's not the taxpayers' money and
Yep.
it's not this year.
Good idea.
We can continue to roll the little baby snowball until we come up with an actual financial mechanism.
Okay, well, I like your suggestion that we put a pin in this and go on and do more research. I hope that would be adequate despite overwhelming support for the inadequate presentation that is made already. But I do think that we need to understand how to finance whatever it is before we go off and say, doesn't anybody want cheaper ferry tickets? Sure.
Okay. I mean, I support putting a pin in it. I don't necessarily care about, I mean, I think that we need a financing plan. I also think, I am okay with it, the financing plan being tax dollars, as long as that is thoroughly vetted with the community and that people feel like if they were to approve it, that a full understanding of what that is. And I don't think that between now and town meeting, people will have an opportunity to fully digest that.
But you kind of look at it in context. You know, what John said was it's $8 more in your real estate taxes. I don't think that's a meaningful figure.
For 100,000.
Yeah, this is a $50,000 investment, and I don't think we're getting a return on that.
Okay. So I'm hearing a $54,000 savings coming off the books. A question, sorry, is there another place you would want us to go next, Brian?
I was just gonna move on to 45, because those were the big items in 44.
Yeah.
Was the health center and the ferry to the committee.
Yep.
Yeah, the next big ticket item is in 45 Public Works.
Yeah, the paving,
Yep, paving.
which is $250,000 a year.
That is in the capital reserves. So we're budgeting 450 for paving, 200 is in the operating budget, and 250 is in the
Now,
capital.
where did
reserves.
that number come from?
We crossed our fingers and hoped for the best.
But I mean, it's based on something or other, right?
Yeah,
Usually we try to get a mile, it used to be 2 miles you could get for about that much money
Yeah.
a year, but
for 200 or for
for
450?
200.
Okay.
And
A
where,
mile.
do we don't know where the mile is right now.
No, because I think what I will do is break it up. I mean, have several,
Hit the most
Like-
egregious spots like we did previously, because I mean, paving the entire island is $30 million or something.
and
like
I'm
that.
thinking, a pad in front of the new fire garage, so it's not muddy
I see.
up there.
So excuse my ignorance about this, but, is the profile of the roads that are being repaved all up to some standard, or are they just whatever we decide? Cause it was just raised to me by Bill Lane this afternoon that depending what specification we follow, that has a big impact on the cost.
Oh, that's a state road down there.
I
at
understand,
one point. But as I said to you earlier, I would think since we are doing it
yeah,
and it could just have a shim coat on it,
yes, all right.
something, since cars are just parking there, it's not gonna have traffic. So I would envision that not costing as much. Well, I'm not talking about when you're talking about widening the road or moving the line over.
3 feet, that's a lot.
No,
All
but
right,
anyway, but I think
I think there are fallback positions there that it would be take it cheaper.
Wasn't last year's number for paving a little over 300 and we knocked it back? I mean, it wasn't 200, it was 300 or 400, probably 300, but.
I have last year's, let me look at it.
Well, I think this is the minimum we can do.
We
Well,
did 200 last year.
Yeah, I
We
think
did
last,
200, but
I
I don't
think-
think that was the original number that was.
I think last year I ended up using that money on stabilization, shore stabilization.
All right, well,
East Shore Drive, I mean, we didn't have money to do that, so I needed to use that paving money.
okay. I don't think any reduction is, we can do in paving.
No,
Well, it's either, you can either put it here, or I think I have it in both places. Capital reserve, did we also put?
250 is in capital reserve.
250. I mean, you could strike out the capital reserve, and we just work with the 200 in the.
I mean, I think I'm support putting in capital reserves so that we build it up, but I don't know that we need to put 250 in capital reserves if we're budgeting 200 in operating as well.
Yeah.
That feels,
Too much.
Where's 250? I'm sorry.
Capital
And
reserves,
capital
it's
reserve, that's
Department
in
50,
section- Yeah. Department
50?
50, 50.
50.
For the end.
Yeah.
so another
Yeah, that's
question
good.
that I have
I don't know yours, because I have all my stuff in there.
is,
One-
just looking at the combination of, yeah, I'm in Public Works 45, the combination of maintenance, shoulder work, specific road and storm damage. Those kind of 4 lines combined. So just looking kind of historically, it looks like our actual spend in FY 24 was 154,000 between those 4 lines. Actual spent in FY 25 was 77,000. It looks like we've budgeted this year 155,000, and to date, we have $115,000 remaining in those lines. Now, I'm sure that there's some work that is going to be done still, but I'm wondering if we're planning to use all 115 that is left, or can we buy an excavator this year?
When ditching or shoulder work's been done yet,
No.
so that remains,
Yeah.
ditching and shoulder work remains, once everything thaws and dries.
So all of that work, all of this budget work is stuff that we budget to be done in the spring before the end of the fiscal year, not in the fall
Typically.
of when it's approved.
The majority of it, yes, just because that's when we end up using it and actually needing it.
Okay.
Let's go from 41.9 to 43.1.
Get the bottom of it, was it?
Oh, yeah.
I have a third bill.
Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to see what she's at. Okay, thank you. Yep.
That extra.
No, I just.
Yeah, storm damage still has a balance, but I mean, if you look in fiscal year 24, we went way over for storm damage. So I mean, it's possible we can still have storm damage, fingers crossed we won't. I mean, we did cut down storm damage some, just because there was leftover. I don't know if I would recommend, cutting that down.
Yeah, I just noticed that there was a lot remaining, so if to the degree that we could. If there was equipment purchases that we could make in this fiscal year instead of budgeting for it in next fiscal year, is what I was thinking.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know if I could get enough to follow that.
I mean, or the $20,000 for the plow truck for Acre Island.
Do away with that?
Can they
Can we buy it this year? If
Oh, if I don't have money for it.
We went 2 different directions. Can they get a cheaper plow truck?
Um,
I don't know.
I think last year
I-
we paid them a bunch in maintenance. for
Yeah.
the Plow truck, so
Gotcha.
I think we're trying to avoid doing that
Okay.
in the future, having to pay maintenance every year.
yeah,
as
the
opposed to-
truck,
So
I
I,
forget how old it was, but it just was a
Um,
Dodge.
is.
25, 35.
2535, yeah, Acre Island.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
It can be less than 20,000 perhaps, because then it's gonna have a plow. I was hoping there may be some truck here, but everybody says don't buy one that's been used out here. And, Dana Emery had been looking online, and showed me one that was like 15, but didn't have a plow. And we gotta get it over there.
So we need a plow, we need the mount, the controls.
So this is a
So
new
we've
plow,
still
new
spent-
truck and.
Yes, the one that they have there has, he thinks he's hoping it will make the winter.
It's a new Dodge truck.
Oh, new to us truck.
You're not gonna get a new truck for $20,000.
No. Okay, so,
They just want one that will
Well,
work.
this year anyways.
Well, so that's, if we've got 30,000 there and we're expecting it to be 20, that's an easy place to just.
That's also some money there for their road maintenance.
Yeah, the eight is there for their, eight to 10 is there for their
Yeah.
normal road maintenance. The remaining 20 is, for the plow.
And their wish would be to have a truck that's a plow truck that has a dump body on it, so they could use it also for roads. I mean, that makes sense, but I don't.
all right.
Yeah, no, sorry, I was more thinking about how much we have remaining and if there was any of those kind of purchases that we could make this year.
Well, I would know more maybe late June and
It's not
then,
gonna help us for town meeting.
no. Where's my crystal ball?
So, sorry, I know this feels like jumping around a little bit, but, it seemed like there was some traction around being able to drop down road reconstruction in the capital reserves if we're putting 200,000 in the operating. Could we drop that by 150 to budget 100 in capital reserves this year?
Capital reserves.
All of the places that have the frost heaves, like in front of Steve's and Troutman's and all of that, does that have to get torn up and then repaved? Or is it just put
Usually
down?
it'll fix itself.
Yeah, it's gonna come up. Steve's not being there, and
Wait
that's
for
why
big
it's.
saw.
Pretty
Well, no,
much, yeah.
Like Steve's is pointed,
Oh, yeah.
that'll launch you, and then Troutman's is sunk down, and so I didn't
Oh, that
know.
always.
I always try to
Yeah.
bring people up when I can.
Thank you.
Good job.
No, so we don't do anything to fix the frost heaves, we just wait for them to fix themselves?
Usually when
Gotcha.
everything finally thaws, they'll fix
And if
themselves.
it's a culvert concern, if it's something broken, then that.
Yeah, that's something else.
Right, okay.
I think,
We're down to a 12% increase.
okay,
Would be big enough.
Hundred
ferry
fifty in
ticket.
capital reserves and ferry ticket committee.
does that, and that doesn't include, the health center numbers?
That does
yet?
not include health center numbers yet, no.
Take 100,000 off that and see what number we're at. Not to,
Oh, hold your ear.
well, yeah.
It's not gonna be as much as you want, 10%.
All right, yeah, I mean, we're trying, we asked the question early on, where would we like to be? And obviously, we need to be single digit, but
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be 5%, but I don't know that,
Last year we were 8 and that about broke people, and so I'm with Shay, I think it needs to be around 5.
yeah,
And then we also, I know that we don't vote on it, and I know that this is gonna be contentious, we still have the 1.3 million to Waldo County, which is a $300,000 increase over last year that we don't vote on, we can't control, we can't do anything with. But we have to
235.
keep that in the back of our brain of.
Yeah.
That's also going to be impacting our people.
yep,
It's a $235,000 increase, yeah. It's a 24% increase from the previous year from the county.
I just wanna make sure that we all still have that in the front of our brain too.
And it's
Thank
not
you.
small.
It is not, and it's gonna hurt.
And are whatever we do with the snow plowing, is that also additional?
Well, we put in a figure.
We have an estimate,
There's a bid opening.
and that's actually in 45, we just haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, so if we're on this cap res page right now. I know that I am still a big proponent of getting ourselves our own piece of equipment. Is that maybe something we think we consider setting aside half of the payment for it this year and then get the next half next year and then buy it? Just if it's, I mean, I know 35,000 is too much, but if we put 35 in this year instead of 70 and 35 next year.
Here's the caveat to that, if we do that, we'll spend at least 35,000 contracting out that work,
Right.
in the coming year. And I know that because we've already done that,
yeah, how much did we spend on that? Was it a mile that we did?
about a mile, yeah.
How much was that?
For that roadside, it was actually 2 miles, because it was going and back, it was
Okay.
25,000.
Oh, it's both sides, yeah. So I mean, yeah, for a mile of work, we
Yeah.
spent 25.
Road? But that was my.
Yes.
which road?
West Shore,
West Shore. Oh, probably new folks on West Shore Road.
I've been here longer than you. Barely. How old are you?
All right, we're actually still on public works. Any more questions about paving? We think we're good with paving, knocking down capital reserves. All right. Stabilization projects is the next one. That's $50,000 increase to 200.
That I was hoping, I haven't been able to get a price or something back from Gartland and Borski to see if that was something that could happen before.
What is that? Is that the repaving?
The middle narrows.
Is that-
Revetment.
It's
and then
revetment.
there's The paving.
The middle narrows, putting a engineered seawall there.
Oh,
I mean, there is a grant that I think we have a high likelihood of receiving, but the work needs to be done whether we receive the grant or not, so it's a bit of a roll of the dice if we cut it.
Is it a fund match grant?
It can be in kind, and would have enough right now in our capital reserves to cover it, so,
I just wanna make sure we don't
yeah.
change that one at least.
And we have to put 200 in it.
All right.
That middle narrows, I don't know. I mean, we can take that down and pull some money out of, like capital undesignated fund balance cover. I don't know if you're thinking about, now that we know how much is in undesignated fund balance.
You touched my undesignated fund.
You said last year it was 1.1 when we budgeted 100?
I mean, I think they could be comfortable taking 100 of that.
Budgeting that and understanding that we anticipate potentially having revenue and potentially revenue, exceeding what we budget.
Town pretty much lives paycheck to paycheck as it is.
Is that Middle Narrows project, I mean, do we have any timeline like being done or like any sort of other? I'm thinking about again, like, do we just set some aside this year and set some aside next year? Or do we actually know that we are going to need $200,000 this year right away to do this project? Right? I don't know the answer to that. That's why
I mean, I would think the engineering is relatively straightforward, so it could
Sure.
be done if we had the money, it could certainly be done next year.
They're quite a ways along on that, aren't they?
They are,
I mean,
and I
they've
think
been
the
working on
thing
that
that
for
was
several
slowing
years.
them down was what Shree was looking for from grasses or some, like, and I said, just do it.
Quit worrying about the grass.
Well, okay, it sounds like we've gotten ourselves into a lot of projects.
Yeah, welcome to my world.
And,
But I mean, you wanna protect that roadway there,
yeah, no, I
that's
know.
the trouble, you know what, up at the new fire station, the backyard there, they dug out 3 large pieces of concrete blocks, which I wish something could happen to those somewhere. Maybe Michael Clayton will.
Or we put them toward.
You speak of the devil and he appears.
But I guess concrete doesn't hold up so well in the salt water.
Well,
I just.
10
I
years
think
might
that
be
we
good.
just- We're hoping.
It
for a
might
lot of
not
money
have been
from
there, it's been under the ground for 50 years.
right. I think, to your point, Pete, we've said this a couple of times in the last year or two that I've been here. You know, we as a town need to slow our roll on
We
these
have to.
projects.
Understand.
We just can't keep doing this, we just need to. Like I've talked to some people about, looking forward, and it's the same stuff every year. I mean, we have to pick one thing and focus and eliminate others or reduce others. I just think, this is not the year. I think we put 150 in and pray or, spread it.
For stabilization, you're saying?
Yeah.
Or alternatively, and
I'm open to-
well, I hate to say, like, we've spent 200,000, 400,000 on East Shore, and then like we are like chipping away at Main Road. Could we put $100,000 in, I'm gonna make so many people unhappy right now, put $100,000 in as undesignated fund balance on the revenue side to offset it, or don't do that and cut it down by 100, and basically what we're, if we get the grant, then we don't have to use the undesignated fund revenue, basically was what I was thinking, but the impact would be saving 100 on the budget right now.
I mean, I'm fine with putting 100,000 towards it.
Or even just holding off on it and going towards a grant, finding, maybe there's another grant out there that would help us with spending.
I mean, that grant would cover the whole thing. If we get it, and she's been very successful in getting that,
The 200,000
so.
was, Gartley and Dorsey's estimate, where did we get that number?
I don't have a number, I'm just basing it, for the 200 for the middle
Yes.
narrows, I'm basing it on the other two stabilization projects.
We
And
did
it's,
spend
I think that's
$500,000 on a
a
firehouse up north, so that, you know, they have services in case we have a day or two.
yeah, so I guess they can get.
So we don't need to worry about the narrows. We got the firehouse coming in.
But if we have an undesignated, if we use $100,000 of undesignated fund balance, we are down to 8%.
Which is about what we
Well,
were
take
previous
away
year.
the 200, do you wanna take away that 200 under that?
I don't wanna take away the 200 and use 100 of undesignated fund balance. That feels,
Why don't we put stabilization down to 150?
Or why don't we just put it down and see if we can get a grant? And just continue. I mean, well, I'll get what Gartley and
I
Dorsey
think we're always
did
gonna
me.
need stabilization.
Well, I'll get their plan and then we can go forward with that and see. You know, in the future, if we get the grant, then we have the plan ready to put it out to bid.
So I think I'm more comfortable doing it at 150. And then if there is another big storm that comes through that wipes out yet another vague ass road, vague road somewhere on the island. If we need to postpone doing the narrows in order to put the 150 towards fixing Northeast Shore, you know, I know it's not an existing road and I refuse to jinx a single road on the island. But road that we need to fix, we could use that to fix that road instead of robbing our paving again to try to fix it. And then if we get the grant, fantastic. If we don't get the grant, then there's 150 plus the 100 from the undesignated funds, plus whatever we've already had put in there. That way we can throw a good chunk towards it. If for some horrific reason we don't get the grant.
The 100 from undesignated funds is going into the overall revenue to bring the entire budget down. It's not going specifically for this project.
it's not, but I know that with the rationale when we budgeted $100,000 last year for the undesignated fund balance, the goal was really like, okay, what are the major capital projects that we're budgeting as a town so that we're not just using $100,000 to cover payroll. You know, because that is an unsustainable model, but if we're making a big capital project, then it feels justifiable.
And if East Shore Drive collapses into the ocean again, we need to maintain some sort of undesignated fund balance. Otherwise, we are just gonna sit on it until we can afford to fix it.
And we had no
Would
choice
not be a
but
good thing.
to fix both those
Right.
roads. You know, it's not like that was on my plan.
Right, no, I mean, I think either way, hopefully we get the grant and then we are building up this, you know, then we've got money, but. What I think just to summarize what I think I heard is we're adding $100,000 of undesignated fund balance on the revenue side. And we are reducing the road stabilization budget by $50,000. So. The net positive is $150,000 to the budget and we are down to 7% increase.
Beating last year, take that.
And 150
That's
to the stabilization at the narrows?
Yeah.
150, okay.
Okay, this is weird, you guys don't ever listen to me like this, and so far you've listened to me on two whole things, so I'm like done talking for.
We are very calm.
All right, should we continue on?
Yeah.
About 15 minutes. All right, next thing on the Public Works was the potential third Public Works laborer and or facilities manager that's now been split up a little bit.
Correct.
That's
yeah.
52.
Spreadsheet up there, but that's all right, I've got,
Oh, we,
2.
no, I think,
Yeah, you're right, that one's not up
Is
there.
that what you did, was that you had put it,
Yeah.
you'd done 1036 at 52K and then divided it out to the seasonal and the other?
Yeah,
and if we didn't use all that for the facilities, I would plan on starting 2 days a week and it could go up to 3. But that, anything else that wasn't used could go towards a seasonal also, or, cause right now, we usually, I don't really have any money for them to start using someone for seasonal work, because they used it up pretty much when Ethan was here. So that way I'd have money on both ends to do something, but I just feel like, and Mert, are you here still? You awake?
You
know. What'd you say?
He is now.
You are now, okay. Has expressed interest to me in this. He hadn't mentioned anything to me about that before. I wouldn't have been searching so hard for someone. He's already here. He goes to all these buildings, and so that's kind of my wish, and I'm hoping, I'll see how it works out for him. I'd like to start him, maybe in April or May, 1 or 2 days a week.
Good idea.
Just to get things going, because I have something coming up at the library next week, the TC Hafford about the basement waterproofing, perhaps they're gonna look at that, and I said to Mert, why don't you come along? And if that could work, instead of digging up the whole outside foundation and taking out the doorstep and the posts, I think it would be marvelous, but that's,
And just a fan of round numbers, I would take it down to 30. And that way, then it was just 45,000 between the two positions. I would take
Okay,
the
yeah.
facilities manager down to 30.
And how much does that save? Sorry, I'm just.
Nothing.
ah,
It literally just helps me with my numbers.
I mean,
The
it,
sickness percentage that we're talking about, the 7% off of Steve's addition of cutting 100 out of the health center.
no, so
7%.
yes, the bad news for Chris is that's just that's a ballpark number that is an assumption in this, yes.
that would have to probably just be a position, because most of their wage, most of their, price is, it's in wages.
All right.
Yeah, I feel like that's the only one where I think, we need to go through and create a realistic
I
rather.
think things are pretty much, the rest of it's pretty much, boned down last year from, Beth.
It's all
Yeah.
yours now, yeah.
That's all personnel.
Is the revenue from the health center services, is that in any way negotiable?
Is revenue negotiable?
Yes. I mean, don't people pay to go to the health center?
They're supposed to.
And they're gonna go up is what I think you're asking.
That's what,
Oh, I see what you're saying, okay. I don't.
There has been a little bit of an increase in our proposed fee schedule, that was voted on at the last health center advisory board. Some of that being what is billed to commercial insurance. How much of that we actually recover is a little bit more challenging. We often don't recover everything that we bill. And that's actually fairly typical across health systems.
Right.
that's right, and we did hear I heard from there aren't many rural health centers, standalone rural health, but I did hear back from one today, I think it was in Madison. I'm not positive, but you had the question about can you charge two different fees? And they do, they charge an insurance fee, and then you have a discount if you self-pay that day,
Yeah,
but you have to pay it that day, you get a discount. So.
well, I just have found when you go to the, like, ophthalmologist or someone, they have a rate that is exceeding what is covered by the health insurance, and you pay that, you write a check, right, and it's fine. Anyway, what do I know?
Well, no, you have a nicer facility with more service.
Exactly.
It stands to
It's
reason
like-
we are now able to charge slightly more.
Yes,
And we
I
are,
don't know what we do, but
and the health center they have expanded the services that they do bill for, and they are continually working on, the word slipped my mind, accreditation,
Credentialing.
credentialing. They're constantly working on credentialing so that they can continue to bill insurance, for the services provided.
And I don't have it in front of me because it's an FY25, but I think last year the revenue projection increased over the previous year, kind of anticipating.
I think we did, I think best we said, let's bump
I
it
think
up.
that was
I
one
could
of the,
Put it up to 300.
right, but. Well, I think it is at 300.
It is.
Yeah, and I believe we're on track.
No. Where we at now, Brian?
We're still on Public Works, 45,337,10. This is an estimated number because your classwork for the select board meeting is opening, that's no bid, so.
Okay.
So we put a number in there. It's quite literally made up based on last year's number with an expected increase. But that's what we went with as kind of a
Yeah.
concept, just to get a number in there.
Yep.
But that is gonna be where another increase comes from is that, because we do expect that to be higher than it has been in previous years. That's pretty much it for 45.
Can I ask a question about rec? Actually, I think Mike is on the committee, so I'm targeting it with somebody here. I'm just wondering, I feel like when Ed came and presented on the museum budget, that there was a couple of different capital projects, and I'm wondering if we could reduce the budget and do one of them this year and one of them next year.
The one that they're trying to do this year was the one that was gonna come in at 26,000. And then they had the little bit of donations that they had that was left. I think this was already putting it as,
Splitting years.
if I'm remembering correctly, because right now it's the boathouse, then right now it's the moving of something.
I thought it was
My
the,
brain is broken.
which one was the foundation?
Yeah,
around that.
this year's the foundation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next year is the boathouse and the recentering and stabilization of the boathouse and.
But I believe Ed was saying that the budget and the donations, they have what they need, so they don't need an increase at least
I think for the foundation.
for all of it. I mean, it's not gonna happen all at once, but they are piecing this out over the next couple of years, and they're expecting to do all of this within the budget that they have and the donations that they're receiving.
Yeah.
And of course, they do generate revenue through the gift shop and, you know, taking donations there as well, so. They have funded some of their other projects in the past with those funds.
If we have to knock it down, we have to knock it down, but I don't know, because part of it too is until they get their revenue, they use part of the money that is allotted to them for their supplies to get the season going, then they sell that, they can replenish. And I remember that being part of the conversations too. Obviously, they don't use $20,000 in it, but
So what is 3526 maintenance? Just net 47.3
In the harbor,
Harbor.
in, oh, I'm ahead of myself, never mind. Oh, just
Yeah,
wait.
that's hard maintenance.
Yes, I know. Just kept going.
I think they're doing a great job in the museum. I think, you know, it's,
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's just, I know that there was just asking questions,
Sure.
asking questions.
Mike, do you remember? On the lighthouse? I didn't go to the last meeting and I'm drawing a blank on what Ed told us during our presentation.
I didn't make the last meeting either, but I know the tower repair is paid for.
Right.
Um,
And now they're doing the foundation and the stabilization to make sure that it doesn't sink into the Penobscot.
right, so we'd like to try to get the boathouse sorted out
Right.
and,
You know,
then
but
we're gonna work our way through the rest of it.
Oh,
There's a lot to be done there, the place is in really rough shape, actually, so.
Which one is?
The lighthouse.
It's that for too long.
Yeah. That's surprising.
I mean, I would say we could save $10,000 from the sea level rise engineering and take it from 30 down to 20. We had been doing 20, and then I'd like to keep saving for it because the big project is, you know, a $6 million project that we will only do if we receive grant money, but we'll still need,
We need to do the
Match.
preliminaries.
yeah.
Shane, what line are you on?
I'm
And the
on
capital
capital
reserve,
reserve,
Oh.
line
What
70, 50, I'm sorry, I'm just jumping around.
What were you asking about Harbor?
Hmm.
The girl still in rec?
Steve was asking if,
The
about
maintenance in the
maintenance,
harbor. it went up-
3526.
Went from 20 to 35, so that's 15 grand, that's.
Yeah,
Oh, I was gonna ask, can we take down the amount that we give the Lincolnville?
you certainly can.
Or then 10?
I was just doing the math on it. It's almost $12.50 a month that we're paying to rent, basically rent that dock that we helped pay to build. And at the rate that we have, I think we've been very diligent in paying them voluntarily $15,000 a year in their time.
Well, we used to give about 2,500 a year. And then they did a lot of work. We asked them to do things. I think that's why it went up.
But I would there with Melissa too. I would like to see that number drop.
They are,
not a voter person, so you're welcome to kick in.
they are going to be doing a project where they're, to make the pier more sustainable. They'll be raising it up one time in the future. They're applying for a grant. At some point, it will be out of service for a while, but they didn't have specifics.
But for the harbor committee is about to put to the town, the idea of charging the mooring fees to help offset the cost of other people how it all works, our money going. And it seems wild that we would do that, you know, in order to try to make it a little more, not everyone paying for something they're not using. And that we do this without batting an eye, so it's kind of crazy. So I'd like to see this number drop if we're about to charge our citizens more to lower our costs, then let's reduce what we pay out. We don't have to.
Those were our lifeline to the man.
Yeah.
Yes, no,
Yeah.
I get that, you know, I mean, I'm not saying get rid of it entirely, but. If we're looking for ways to save money here and there without getting rid of the things that are truly like our day-to-day needs, that seems like one of them. If we've been giving them $15,000 on our own volition this whole time. You know,
Well,
I mean,
why
I
don't we
think-
knock it down to
Yeah.
10? Times are tough for everybody, Lincolnville, you know, I just think times are tough for everybody, we're all gonna have to suffer a little bit in some way, shape or form.
I feel like I'd wanna at least have a conversation with Lincolnville before we did that, because we've been doing it for so long. I mean, I think, if I were Lincolnville, I would not keep that outer, and I wasn't getting substantial revenue from Islesboro, I would not keep that outer ramp that we use for emergency response up and going, because that's just getting their infrastructure beat up, and that is primarily, I would think, a safety issue for Islesboro that they're doing it, so.
I mean, I wish it makes sense, but do we think we're incurring $15,000 a year in damages to that? Yeah,
Just to have it there, the luxury of having a place to go, and it's the only place.
yeah, and hey, if we wanna do it, we wanna do it. I just think that it seems like a good spot to save ourselves a bit of money when we're all sitting here trying to save money. But
Doesn't sound like it's, the saving is commensurate with the
Well,
Squeeze.
risk.
sure,
I think they would understand. I mean, I'm just explaining, they're going.
Is that
through
something that
budget.
you would be willing to have a conversation with Dave about between now and then, and then that can inform our next budget discussion?
yeah, I'm happy to pay, I would be happy to pay a reasonable, realistic sum to them for the use of that pier, but it feels like 15,000 is kind of arbitrary. And I don't like that about it.
What would you think is a reasonable?
I don't know. I'd like to know what,
Yeah.
we've asked them in the past for information, and we got
We
kind of
do,
like a
what
list.
they've done during the year. I mean, I can get that again, but I mean.
And is it more than?
It's hundreds of thousands of
Congress.
Oh, really?
of improvements over the,
Yeah.
I mean, not every year, right?
Okay.
Like, these are like big,
Sure.
and we're not the only, you know, and Lincolnville benefits from it as well.
But if you talk to most people in Lincolnville, they don't even know where the.
And the
pier
boatyard,
is.
and I mean,
People fish off of it, I've seen that.
Users also pay a fee
you know,
in Lincolnville.
perfect. Okay, well, then it's not popular, and we want to keep paying them $15,000 out of.
Well, do you wanna knock it down to 10? I mean, that's still. I don't mind
No,
asking.
no, we're just talking 3 or 5, let's,
I know.
Okay.
let's keep.
I think it's worth having a conversation
Sure.
with David to let him know that it's a topic of conversation and, yeah, to
Well, they're-
understand how,
They're grateful for whatever we send. I know, we send that in the past. They're grateful. And they use it. It's not like they don't put it in a capital reserve. fund.
no, well, it's one of those, like, we wanna save money and be fiscally responsible. We also don't wanna get into a pissing match with our neighbors that we need when there is an emergency response that's needed, and I
Right.
worry about that.
Yeah,
We're about out of time.
Yep,
for this
and we're
meeting.
at 6:30. So just to summarize really quickly where I think we are. I think we have identified around $471,000 in savings. That is currently a 6.9% increase over last year's budget.
I think that.
Janet and I will meet with Chris over the next week. Janet's going to talk with Lincolnville.
When did you leave, Chris? Cause I'm trying not to work next week.
How does Friday look for you? My Friday looks really good.
Might be all right. I gotta, we're gonna get this
For this,
training.
Training.
For next.
Central voter registration.
Sorry, how much
But
that
maybe I
how
could
much
skip
savings would that be?
It's like nothing.
But
But they're asking, 23.
on
And I said.
Monday, Friday.
Are you doing recording stuff? Starting out?
I'm trying not to work.
That work.
I mean, I was like trying.
I don't think.
Okay, I'll just put it on here. I'm not putting a number savings, I'm just putting.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
We adjourning budget for now?
Yes, adjourning budget and, we'll take, if people are willing, if somebody needs a quick bio break, we can take like a 1-minute break and,
1 minute would be exciting. Shay, do you wanna do Friday with, Chris?